morning, everybody. Especially if your name is Ahmad. Sam here, United People's TV. I very much thought that I was going to be coming here this morning with a very different expression on my face after what was it's like a relegation level worthy performance for about 75 minutes. Xerxes helped change the game massively, but Ahmad was the difference maker in that game. A hat-trick, a 12-minute hat-trick, by the way, from Ahmad. The youngest player since Wayne Rooney to score a hat-trick for Manchester United in the Premier League. That's a stat to kick off the show. I'm going to run through the game yesterday. All right, we'll speak about Ahmad. We'll speak about the hat-trick, his individual performance, and the individual brilliance, because he dragged his teammates out of the gutter yesterday. That's what I said in my match reaction, and I stand by that. We'll also run through and discuss in a bit more detail Xerxes' performance, Collier's performance, the performances of other players. Højlund concerned. Yoro got skinned. He'll learn from that. We'll also hear all of Ruben Amorim's post-match reaction and speak about David Ornstein confirming Napoli's approach for Garnacho and Rashford to Dortmund. It's going to be a busy show today. As always, it's United. It's never quiet. So please do get your comments in and let's have a fun show. Let me see who's here from the mod and the member gang, and let's get straight into it. Good morning to you, Alex. How you doing, buddy? Stephanie, you're there as well. Josh, nice to see you again. Ant, I saw you there. Carl, you were there to start the show as always. JC, good morning to you, my man. Stephen, Stan the Stoic Roberts. That's a big username. Good morning to you, Stephen. Rex, you're there as well. Ricky. Sorry. Akash, Mike, and Giles. Good morning to all of you. Please fire in your comments. Please fire in your questions. And yeah, Lyle, it always is busy on here on United People's TV. I honestly don't know how, if I didn't run this community, I don't know how I'd keep on top of all the United news that constantly happens 24/7. It is insane. Anyway, speaking of insane, you seen the news this morning? Erling Haaland putting pen to paper on a 9.5-year contract. Ladies and gents, I think we can accurately predict that nothing is going to be happening to City. A 9.5-year contract for Haaland, a Pep extension, and I don't know how much they've even spent in January. They've got Omar Mamouche. Who else they got? They got the lad from Brazil. I think they signed another centre back, and I think they're still trying to sign another player. I got no idea. City are getting away with it. All right. If anybody is saying that anything's crashed, make sure you refresh YouTube because it's cool on my end. All right. So if it's fine on my end, typically, if anything like that happens, I'll know if it's my end because I'll see errors. But if not, just give your YouTube a refresh. It largely fixes it. All right. Yeah, I'll speak about Lenny Yoro. I'll speak about Højlund and individuals. But let's get into the game. Yeah, my prediction was spot on. Who doubts my predictions? Nobody should ever. Yeah, sometimes I get it right. I'll be honest. I think I've got like 3 or 4 games absolutely bob on this season. I think so anyway. Right. Another here we go yesterday. We got confirmation from. Well, confirmation. We got news that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to be back in management, going to manage in Turkey. That's going to be an interesting one. Besiktas means you're going to be seeing Mourinho versus Solskjaer. Let's find out. I'm looking forward to seeing Ole back in management, man. I really, really am. I'll be watching some of those games for sure. Oh, look who's that. Who's that? Alan and Toby. What a combo. Both gifting 5 memberships each. Legends. Hopefully we're not getting hacked again. Everyone touch wood. As I said, I think everything's completely fine on my end. So if something is cutting out, just make sure you give your YouTube a refresh. Let's talk about it. All right. Fire any comments now. Before we speak about Ahmad, what's your overall opinion of the game? Because United were like spectacularly bad. Really, really spectacularly bad. Like, just want to reiterate the fact that going into that game, Southampton were statistically the worst ever team in Premier League history after 20 games. That's fact. Complete fact. And they not only competed with United, but outplayed United. And all the basics. You know, I don't need to explain the basics to you anymore. You've seen enough of it now. Won every duel, first to every second ball, just smarter, playing through the lines. We very much looked like a team who had just played 120 minutes against Arsenal. And Amorim's reaction after the game wasn't one of like mega anger, if I'm being completely honest. He actually defended his players. When I'll run through his post-match comments, but I was pretty angry, man. I was sitting there watching it, and the way I described it whilst watching it was, it really just feels that these players choose which games they fancy. Like, you look at the calendar and you go, Liverpool, Anfield. Yeah, I'm G'd up for that. Come on in, let's go. Arsenal in the FA Cup. Yeah, come on. Yeah, all right. Southampton at home. Where is Southampton at bottom? Well, I can go to bed late. Like, I can go. You know what I mean? Like, they look at that's what it feels like. Of course, the fact that there was a week before Liverpool and between Liverpool and Arsenal really did help United for sure. But just the way that those players approached that game was outrageous. Hi, White, you're saying that it looked a different team when Xerxes came on. I completely agree. Good cameos by Xerxes and Collier. Haaland couldn't keep the ball. As soon as... Oh, man, that pissed me off, Birdie. As soon as the stat came up, they haven't scored from a corner. Wah, they scored from a corner. But the good thing is, all right, we can bury that performance because of this man. Ahmad individually just completely shifted everything yesterday. Playing it at right wing back, he scored a hat-trick from right. That's got to be I don't bloody know. How many hat-tricks have ever been scored from right wing back? I don't know. But Ahmad yesterday was just... Can we just like wax lyrical about Ahmad for a few minutes? Because as much as we will criticise the players, and we'll praise players as well, like Xerxes and Collier and Eriksen, who came off the bench as well, Onana's performance. But Ahmad, that's a really good one there. Brian saying Bale versus Inter, left wing back. Was he left wing back at that point? That's a really good one. But there can't be many, is my point. And a 12-minute hat-trick. The first goal, it was all about tenacity. He was there in the right position at the right time, got a little bit of fortune, but then took it on his right foot first time, boom. The second goal was a thing of absolute beauty. Absolute beauty. A 1-2 with Eriksen, the pass from Eriksen. There aren't many other players at that moment that would have been able to pull that pass out. Maybe Bruno. Maybe. But the finish, I think, was with his other foot, left foot. A really awkward finish, but a great finish. And then the third one, he took advantage of an opportunity and he scored. I want to pull this video up. Look at this bad boy. Come on. Gotta love these videos. Jeez! What a little dude. What a little dude. I just love Ahmad. I think Ahmad is everything that Amorim wants from all of his players. He's got that blend of quality with tenacity. Intelligent enough to find the spaces, has the technical quality to take advantage of those spaces, but when he loses the ball, it's not it's not shoulders slumped. He's a grafter as much as he is an artist. Just a fantastic individual performance there. And every single every single one of those players owes Ahmed. I mean, and that's kind of what teammates do, right? A good teammate will be there for you. You know, sometimes when you're down, a teammate will pull you up. He's pulled everybody else up there. It's what he said after the game.
Yeah, I feel proud. I was so happy to score the second goal. And yeah, that, like I say, I was happy for myself, but I was so happy for the team because we deserve this win. We have to keep going like this. We need this confidence to keep going. And
I'm just delighted for him. That's all you can say. They're down there saying, I said in this channel yesterday, it would be a terrible mistake to underestimate Southampton. We'll speak about the overall team performance in a second. And get out. Xerxes, my man of the match. Look, I know that Xerxes changed the game when he came off the bench. I know the logic behind that. You're not going to give man of the match to a player who scored a 12-minute hat-trick. Yeah, I think you're trying a little bit too hard there. Someone should sue Ten Hag. Yeah, that was a strange one. But boy, Anthony, the contrast in quality. How? Somebody please tell me how Anthony missed. Somebody. Give me some sort of logic. That was... I don't know how he even did it. I swear, I don't know how he even did it. But Ahmed was the hero yesterday, right? There's no other way to describe that performance. So bereft of quality. So bereft of really anything in that game. Now, the Xerxes sub is what absolutely did change the game. And I'll speak about that. This is a class photo here. Absolutely class photo. A couple of you sent us some super chats. Let me read these out and then we'll speak about this. And you're saying that it looks like we can only get up for big games. That's what it feels like. But every game is a big game when you're bloody 15th in the table, lads. And you're playing for United. And you're playing literally for your job. So I mean, like, professionals are professional because you can rely on them. They're consistent. The difference between being an amateur and being a professional is you're paid for it. You could still enjoy it as much as you did when you were an amateur, but you're a professional now. You have expectations. You have requirements. You might have got away with it before when you were an amateur, but you can't do that now. That's how these players approach so many games. Connie is saying, Anthony, our worst ever signing. Is it a debate? Not from a financial perspective at all. Is he our most expensive signing ever? I think he is. I remember. Who else was more than him? Anyway, that's a class photo of Xerxes and Ahmed. And Xerxes is something... Corners! That photo cracked me up. Xerxes enjoyed that winner from Ahmed. I think that is for sure. And Xerxes, is Pogba more expensive than Anthony? Oh, there you go. Anyway, he's right up there. I mean, he's pretty much the same. But let's talk about Xerxes. I'll speak about the contrast with Højlund a little bit later in the show, but I just want to focus on Xerxes himself. United really struggled in the first... When did Xerxes come on? Was it like 55th minute? Something like that. Thereabouts. But the ball just wasn't sticking with Højlund. He couldn't do the hold-up play yesterday. He's going way too close. He's not using his body correctly. Xerxes changed the game. What he did was what he does. He is an enabler. Xerxes is there, and it's kind of a strange thing to say about your centre forward, but this is just the truth of the strengths of Xerxes' game. He is an enabler. He makes other players around him play. He's good at feeding the ball. He's good at holding the ball up. Clearly, we've seen that. And finding the spaces. He's good at connecting the attack. He's not the focal point of the attack, and he never will be. But he was never going to be. And if you ever expected him to, then you just didn't really understand what sort of player Xerxes was. But it was fantastic from him yesterday. deserves a lot of credit. And if you look at the arc of Xerxes in the last few weeks, the extremes of it must be quite tough to deal with must be ridiculously tough to deal with the extremes of being a footballer. Because to go from where he was against Newcastle, United, 2-0 down when he got hooked on, was it about half an hour? Thereabouts? And some absolute whoppers, by the way. No, just twats in Old Trafford, booing him as he went off the pitch. Mentally, must have been such a nuke for him. And it must have been tough. To go from that to what he did from the bench against Arsenal and to put his name down as the 5th penalty taker and burying it, huge for him. And I'll be honest, I was surprised that he didn't start against Southampton because typically what we've seen from Amorim is he kind of changes Højlund and Xerxes quite regularly. So I was surprised that Højlund started. And I think he deserves. I'm going to go and read some of your comments out about Xerxes down here. What's your opinion of kind of how the season's gone so far? What your feeling is of Xerxes in this team and in this squad? Neil, you're saying Garnacho was better last night in a terrible performance. Garnacho was a spark, but was blunt. That's what I would call him, a blunt spark yesterday. He was certainly offering more than others, but ultimately was still offering not enough. Mike saying Xerxes must have gone home and slept well last night for the first time in a long time. He was the game changer. I mean, I'm pretty sure he slept well after Arsenal. I'm not sure, though. Although, to be fair, I think it's why sleeping pills are a problem with footballers. Imagine the buzz you'd have after that Arsenal game if you were Xerxes. The adrenaline must take ages to leave your system. IAMTH, you're saying Xerxes is a special lad. He's got some talent. Hopefully, Amorim can unlock his abilities. And he's a big man. He's a big man. Dylan saying we have to accept he's slow, but he's important. As United, I'm trying to think of the way to articulate this. As United fans, maybe it's not just as United fans, but in the Premier League, football is relentlessly fast. The pace of the game is a bit nuts. Having players who can slow games down, not in a way of it's killing the game, like you're watching Arsenal spend 12 minutes a game taking set pieces. But sometimes if you can take a touch, look up, and then get the ball off, it can make all the difference. Sometimes standing still on a football pitch is more effective than moving, which sounds like a weird thing to say. And not every player has the ability to do it, to sort of stand and use that standing still time to then create the gaps. I think Xerxes does that naturally. That's kind of part of his game. What are you saying down here in the comments? Alex, you're saying Xerxes and Collier changed things on the 53 minutes. Will they start on Sunday? Amorim deserves credit. Energy arrived and the second phase was sorted. Ugarte and Mainu looked tired. Well, that's why I had Mainu out of my starting 11. I had Maguire out and I had Mainu out. So I'm not surprised that both Mainu and Ugarte went off. Because that was a game yesterday where, as was said there, Collier came on and Collier made a big, big difference. As Xerxes did. And it was no surprise, for me anyway, to see Ugarte and Mainu tired. After the performance against Arsenal, you knew it. And in that midfield against Southampton yesterday, we felt, as a team, if you look at how we played against Liverpool and Arsenal, we were really compact. There really wasn't too much space between the lines, and we kind of shifted up and down the pitch together. Because Amorim wanted United to be more on the front foot and more controlling, we tried more of a high press. And because we tried more of a high press, Ugarte and Mainu didn't have the legs to support the press. And because of that, big gaps between the lines. It kind of looked a little bit more like Ten Hag football yesterday for large portions of it. in the idea that there was quite a disconnected press. And I think that was down to energy levels. But Collier, to his credit, deserves praise again. That's 2 really strong performances from the bench. I can see quite a few of you down there talking about should Collier be starting. Well, if Collier starts, it will probably be for Ugarte. So does that mean that Collier and Mainu would be United's starting midfield pairing? I mean, you could start Collier with Ugarte, and that would be a battle in midfield for sure. What else are you saying down here? David, you're saying that Collier should start alongside him. Well, I'll do my starting 11 for games coming thick and fast now. Like we went from Sunday to Thursday between Arsenal and Southampton, but we're going Thursday to Sunday against Brighton. So the players are going to have Friday to recuperate at Carrington today. Saturday's going to be then preparation for the game on Sunday. So there won't be any training between Southampton and Brighton. There won't be too much ability to... There's 1 day of recovery, then 1 day of sort of activation ahead of the game on Sunday. So if Ugarte and Mainu were tired against Southampton, there's not going to be any change for this game coming up against Brighton. Luke, you're saying thoughts on no Casemiro in the squad? We had, in 2 players, in Casemiro and Rashford, over 600 grand's worth per week in wages, not even in the squad yesterday. And you wonder why we've got such a squad that you look at and go, my God, we need to invest properly. That's outrageous. I don't even know the word to describe it. 2 players with wages north of £600,000 a week, both fit and available, both left out of the squad completely. And you're saying, I don't accept tiredness as an excuse. It's pathetic. I mean, you can not accept it if you want, but it is the reality. Gets more and more relentless. I've said this to you before. 5 years ago, you could have had a little bit of chub, a little mini tie around your belly as a footballer. And you might have got away with it if you were good enough as a footballer. Now, you need to be shredded. You need to be top 5 on the bleep test. You need to be #athlete. Every player needs to be an athlete. Every single game in the Premier League. The relentlessness is nuts. So yeah, when you play 120 minutes 60 minutes with 10 men away at Arsenal in the FA Cup, that's going to have an impact in the fatigue of your legs. That's the truth. But, hey, look, someone down there, Leela, I agree with you there. I do wish that Eriksen was younger. I really wish that Eriksen was younger. That pass from him was chef's kiss. Real chef's kiss. I had him in my starting 11 yesterday. That would have been a bad idea. I'll be completely honest. If we're looking to if we're looking to put more energy in that squad, then I don't particularly think you're looking at Christian Eriksen starting that game. But it was a lovely pass from him. Like, I can see some people down here in the comments, like, Mike's cutting off. My mic isn't cutting off. It's the thing's cutting out. Nothing's cutting out. It's you, ladies and gents. I keep saying, can you stop distracting me in the comments? All right, I love you guys. If you have an issue, refresh your YouTube before you comment. Can please everybody just start doing that? Right? If you refresh it, it's going to fix it. All right? So stop loading the comments with that. All right? I know the sound is fine. I can see my sound is fine. Anyway, Eriksen. I still think that he should be leaving in January if we can get a good offer for him. I say good offer for him. It's just I'd be more interested at Casemiro leaving than I would be with Eriksen. First. Anyway, Eriksen will be leaving in the summer. But let's speak about... Oh, actually, no. One more player I want to speak about here. Onana. Made some cracking saves yesterday. Really important saves. I thought it was a little bit harsh trying to say that Onana could have done more for the own goal that was scored. I thought he got a really strong hand to it. It was a deflection. Diblin got a little flick on. Made it, by the way, Tyler Diblin yesterday. Both performances against us, Tyler Diblin looks legit. He's just... The thing I like about Tyler Diblin is the amount of power he's obviously got. Just in his legs, in his running style, when he's got the ball at his feet. Diblin has got some real power as a player. Exciting to see what happens with him in the summer, especially if Southampton go down. But Onana, well done. That's 2 games in a row where our goalkeepers really stood up and sort of been accounted for. It's a fair play to Onana. Because after India, I suppose the expectation on him would have been to put in a performance as good as that. Yeah, that double save in the first half was absolutely quality. But let's run through what Amorim said after the game, because I think he would have been well within his rights to kind of go in hard on the players. Well within his rights. But he chose actually to kind of defend them more than anything. That was him on the side. Oh. This is what he was speaking to Paul Scholes after the game. Right? And Paul Scholes was kind of asking him, he was pointing towards that lack of enthusiasm. And this is what Amorim said.
I want to be fair with...
Oh, turn the volume up. Ba-da-ba-ba.
I want to be fair with my players. Today was not a lack of enthusiasm, was a lack of speed, and sometimes lack of control of the game.
What do you think? All right. What would you put down as the explainer for how Manchester United played for the large majority of that game? Is it something that you could not justify, but you could explain simply by the players being tired? Do you think it's to do with the players and how they approach big games versus maybe lesser games like Southampton? Like, how do you think Amorim's looking at this? Volpez, you're going for the word unprofessional. Neil, you're saying unlucky. Siraj saying fatigue and not used to it. Alex saying mental and physical fatigue. Chris, you're saying mentally tired, poor decision making. Combination of complacency and attitude, says Ant. Thinking they're just better, says Josh. Jonathan, I would agree on that. And this is something that Amorim has pointed out on quite a few occasions now. The pressure of playing at Old Trafford. And how all the pressure is on the players and how... I mean, he's mentioned it multiple times. So it's obviously something... And as a former player, that's something that he'll be able to understand and relate to. He played at Old Trafford as well, didn't he? I think he did with Braga. But it was a little bit Fergie-esque, if you want to call it that, after the game where Amorim would have been well within his rights to really kind of pace his players. He didn't. He actually defended them more than anything. And I've got Højlund here, and we can have a little conversation about Højlund now. There's still lots more I want to speak about the overall squad. But Højlund yesterday sort of personified his own struggles that he's had this season. He is still not getting much service, but right now, the way that Amorim is trying to get the results from this team without wavering too much away from the system that he has, I don't think our striker's really going to get much service. And I don't think that's really going to change too much in the short-term future. Yesterday, balls were coming. It was longer balls going into him, hoping that Højlund could control it on his chest, hold his defender off, pass it off, feed it to Garnacho or Bruno, or feed it back to Ugarte or Mainu. Bring the ball up the pitch. And he just couldn't do it. Any time the ball went in, whether it was a longer ball over the top, whether it was a shallower ball that kind of was fizzed into him, Højlund just didn't make anything stick yesterday. That's why the performance of Xerxes stood out in a good way. Chidi, you're saying disagree totally. Southampton press man for man, lots of energy. We are going to be tired. De Ligt on the ball is poor and can't progress, and Højlund had a shocker. What does that mean? You disagree totally because Southampton pressed man to man? Well, they just took advantage of United being tired. Southampton certainly approached the game right, but where do you all? Ask you in the comments now. Where do you all stand on Højlund so far this season? Højlund still, he scored some cracking goals this season. In the Europa, he's got a decent record. He's very much struggling in the isolated number 9 role this season. That's what I would say. He's not. But the thing that confuses me about Højlund is against Brentford, he did it, in the same way that Xerxes really impressed in that second half. That's what Højlund did in the second half against Brentford at Old Trafford. He really held the ball up well. He got his foot on the ball. He held a defender off. He fed other players that came into him and did it really well. But then he hasn't really been doing it since. I'm going to go and read some of your comments. Needs to leave on loan. That's not going to happen. Needs to get used to the new system. Højlund's still unpolished. I think that's fair. I feel for Højlund, he just needs someone to help him improve. I think it's more you have to look inwards. But I don't think it's a case of Højlund needs somebody else. I think it's Højlund himself needs to improve. Højlund is still not getting service, but needs to do much better. And that's kind of where I am at with him, Steph. I think he definitely does need to improve himself. And he definitely does need more service. But both of these two things exist and are true at the same time. Højlund is physically weak. I mean, he's not, though. He's probably one of the stronger players in the squad. I think for me, I think I put it down to football IQ right now. Højlund's he's not using his body correctly. He's not creating that separation between him and the defender. So often when you see the ball going over the top, Højlund is like touch tight. Like the back of his head is against the nose of the defender. And then a defender just like, if they're bigger than him, which invariably most centre-backs are, a little dink over the top, or just stick your toe round. He needs to give himself a yard or so of space. Because if you can get the ball in behind for Højlund, yeah, cool, he's probably going to have the pace to run onto it. That's only part of the game. And maybe Xerxes can help him understand that. Maybe more training can help him understand that. Whoever our attacking coach is should help him understand that. But it's of course I'm worried about Højlund. I'm worried about 90% of this squad. We are 12th after all. By the way, we're 12th. Look at that. Xerxes conducted the tempo expert, he says, and yeah, I completely agree. And it makes a difference when you have a player like that. Otherwise, without Xerxes, we would have just continued. Well, obviously, we tried to do it with Højlund and it wasn't working. But we would have just kept trying to find the quick transitions, the Ten Hag style. Connor, you're saying Højlund's not at the level. The no service argument is bizarre. He is never where he should be. Bruno has to tell him every game where he should be. I think Højlund has very good natural positioning when it comes to being inside the box. I think what Højlund is struggling with is positioning outside the box because he's invariably having to play deeper. And maybe that's just the way that an Amorim striker plays. Don't quite know that. But he's definitely struggling. No, I'm not going to write him off, but it is his second season. And when it comes to how I shape my opinions of players, First season's, it's not a whole pass for the whole first season, but largely it is. And second season, I want to see development. And unfortunately for Højlund, I'm not seeing that development so far this season. All right, not compared to the first season. It very much looks like first season Højlund again. Somebody who, you know what, I'm really, really happy for Yoro that Ahmad got that hat-trick. Because that performance from Yoro now can just be a lesson. A lesson, I wouldn't say a lesson without consequence, but a lesson that didn't lead to United dropping points, so it damaged the season. It was a win in the end. But boy, Yoro got cooked. Sulemana, he was playing Yoro. And that will be a lesson for Yoro. So sometimes you need to give your winger that you're defending a couple of yards of space. Sometimes you're going to have to go more physical. And I think decision-wise, he just made the wrong decisions. Someone down there saying Yoro needs to work on his pace. What do you mean work on your pace? I mean, I know you can, as a sprinter, you can improve and increase. Lads, I've actually decided that I want to be faster. So, I mean, of course you can train somewhat, but no, that's not what he needs to do. Yoro can... That was actually one of the things I was looking forward to, ironically, was looking forward to seeing how Yoro defended in the one-on-ones on the channel, because that's what he was very good at Lille before we signed him. Was it Lille we signed him from? I think it was. He got roasted, man. Yeah, Gazri, I complete that he didn't really have too much support behind him. But it'll be a game where Yoro can look back and go, well, I don't want that to happen again. So, yeah, is it a case of not getting touch tight onto players with the speed and the footwork that Sulemana had? This will be something that comes in time. But that was a harsh lesson, really, for Yoro. I mean, Sulemana was absolutely rapid. So fair play to him because he played really, really well. But yeah. Who else enjoyed the tackle from De Ligt towards the end on Sulemana? Basically saying that was like a big brother coming in when someone's bullying someone. He goes, well, you can do it. You're doing that again, are you? Yoro will learn, says James. He's still young. It's something he'll develop over time. It's a good lesson to learn. I think it is a good lesson for him to learn. It's a good lesson because that man scored a hat-trick. And now he can look back on it and go, oh, man, that was bad. I never, ever want that to happen again. But thank you very much to Ahmad for sort of dragging me out of that hole. It was a bad one. It was a bad one. Yeah, and there's no hammering of Yoro going on here. This is a player who, I mean, how many Premier League games has he even started for us? Not sure. But he approached that game incorrectly with the winger that he was playing against. Maybe it's a case of, I'm purely speculating here. Maybe it's a case of Yoro didn't quite know enough about the winger that he was playing against. And he will make sure that going into the next game that he knows a little bit more about the style of each winger that he's playing against, so he knows exactly how to approach it rather than learning in-game. I don't know. There could be little things. He's 18. He will develop these things over time. But boy, did he get cooked. Woo, that was bad. Amorim here sort of talking about United overall. You know, when is the big up Ahmad. When is the Amorim system really going to sort of click? And he's saying, look, we need training. I don't know how long it takes, but the profiles, sometimes you can understand it's not the right one. Not the right ones. And he really is learning this. I don't know how curious question, right? How many of these players do you think that Amorim actually trusts? Like, he's not going to go and tell players like, I trust you, I don't trust you, you're a suspect. Not sure about that. But in his own mind, how many players do you think Amorim trusts? Of course he trusts Ahmad. He knows that Ahmad is going to deliver on everything. Of course he trusts Ugarte. He knows that Ugarte will deliver. I think that I'm going to put Maguire in that category as well. I think Amorim really knows or feels that he can trust Maguire to do what he expects Maguire to do. Bruno is another player I think that he will feel that he can trust. But I think there's a lot of these players that are capable of putting in an incredible performance, and then just like the next game, you go, boy, like you were great last game, but look at you now. There aren't too many. I think that's part and parcel of the issue that we've got at this football club. We know this squad is still so far away of where it needs to be. Amorim knows that as well. Our fans want to see much better. And I want to tell them that we are aware of that, but we need time. He keeps saying that, and that's just the truth. Had we lost that game yesterday, it would have been a real hammer blow for Amorim, if I'm being honest. And a real hammering. That's probably what the back line would have been. Back line? Headline on the back pages. I fully am bought into the Amorim, what do you want to call it, approach as United manager. But he knows the truth that unless you get those results and those wins, you won't be given the time that you probably need to get your ideas across. Rob's saying, if only we could have a pre-season now. Ultimately, that's what we're heading for. We're aiming for this season. In an ideal world, right? Let's be honest. The Premier League season is a write-off. The Premier League season is a write-off. Sod knows where we're going to finish, but wherever we finish, I don't want United to finish there. I don't even know how many points we are off the top four. We're looking at the Europa League. That is our golden goose this season. The Europa League. How many games are left now for United to win that tournament? So we've got 2 more group games. Do you go into, is it around a 32 or is it around a 16? I think it's around a 32 in the Europa League. So that's 2, then 2 in the round of 32, 2 in the round of 16, 2 in the quarters, 2 in the semis, final. Is that 10 games? Have I just made that up? Don't think I have. The Europa League is ultimately where we can get some element of success this season. The rest is just a top 8 goes to round of 16. Well, there you go. So if we finish in the top 8, we go straight into... Is it round of 16? It's round of 16 next. I thought it was round of 32. So that means it's 2 games less. So there's 8. So if we get into the top 8 in the Europa League, there's 8 games left. 8 wins, and we're in the Champions League next season. Easier said than done, right? That was so bad for so much of that game yesterday. And I don't think it's... While I don't agree with the idea that you can completely dismiss tiredness and goes, oh, that's no excuse and it's pathetic, I also don't think you can just say, oh, the players were tired. Oh, there you go. That's my bad. I forgot they were tired. If only they weren't tired, they wouldn't have played like that. I don't trust that. I don't trust that would be the truth, that is the case. It was more than just a lack of fitness in that game yesterday. I think it was partly how those players approached that game, and that's going to come down to these damn individuals approaching this game in the exact same way that this lad approaches every game. Ahmad approaches every game in the way that he should, as a professional. And that is the minimum expectation of a, professional footballer. Yeah, they were tired. Not tired enough to get played off the pitch by a team who, I reiterate, were statistically the worst ever team to exist in the Premier League after 20 games at this stage in the season. How many points are they on? 6? 7? I don't even know. A team that's not scored from a corner before in the league this season. Bingo! Ahmad approached that game exactly as he should. And I'll ask you down here in the comments, right? I don't think I need to do a poll on this one. Or maybe I will. Maybe I will, right? What do you think is Ahmad's best position? No, Ahmad's future position, right? Right now, he's playing sometimes as like a right attacking midfielder. Sometimes he's playing as a right wing back. After we make signings, where do you think his permanent position in an Amorim system comes? Because right now, Ahmad is our best right wing back and our best right attacking midfielder. If I was looking at attacking the market as Amorim, I would go for a right wing back. And I would have Ahmad and Bruno down as my two inside forwards on paper. Wing backs are where we need wing backs. You might say that's oh, hold on, Sam. Then we're just going to be signing players to please Amorim. And then what happens if Amorim leaves? Well, if Amorim leaves, we have an identity that should be pressed into this squad and this team so that we can go and find another really exciting up-and-coming manager who plays with a three-at-the-back system that will slot inside this squad that has a lot of the same characteristics. That's what you do when you build something moving forward. You don't then shift away after. Takeoff, you're saying he has more freedom playing in the right wing-back position. The thing I like about watching Ahmad playing from the right wing-back position is he picks the ball up, A, in wider positions, and B, in deeper positions. So by playing right wing back, Ahmad's kind of more involved in the game, more involved in the build-up. Now, for large portions of that game yesterday, Kyle Walker-Peters had Ahmad on lock because he was defending him really tightly. Anytime the ball went from Yoro into Ahmad, Kyle Walker-Peters was right behind him. So he couldn't turn and he couldn't face the opposition's goal and bring the ball forward. He couldn't progress it. Anyway, I'm not talking about Amorim leaving. I'm saying building the long-term vision and the future of the football club. Anyway, let me see what you're saying down in the polls. We've got 300 votes in. Big up to everyone. And 68% of you are saying Ahmad's future position will be as a right attacking midfielder, and 32% are saying right wing back. I agree with the 68%. I know he can play both well, but if I'm Amorim and I'm looking to the market, I'm looking to spend on a right wing back this summer rather than a right attacking midfielder. There may also be games where Ahmad actually suits playing as the right wing back and you chop and change. But I think you need like an athlete, like a Quenda. Really, really wouldn't surprise me if we go for him this summer. Really, really wouldn't surprise me. Anyway, let's end that poll. And let's quickly speak for the last 5 minutes of the show, also, about some important transfer news that came out yesterday. We've been having brief conversations in the live shows about Garnacho and about whether or not you think he should be sold in January. What price you think he would go for if hypothetically he was to go. And then yesterday, I said it kind of feels like there's a lot of smoke now around Garnacho, and there's no smoke without fire. And I did my video yesterday afternoon, just sort of my honest view as to whether or not he should be sold. And then we got confirmation yesterday from David Ornstein that Napoli have actually made an approach for Garnacho. This is what the report says. Napoli have approached United over the availability of Garnacho, but the Italian club's proposal is not being entertained as things stand. Right. The Athletic reported that United would reluctantly consider selling him and other homegrown players because of PSR rules, but this here is the most important line. The figures discussed so far by Napoli do not come close to the value that would prompt movement. So, Napoli have come in for Garnacho. They've approached United. They are speaking directly to United. And I said this, and I'll say it again. none of this happens without encouragement from Garnacho's camp. If Garnacho's camp wants to dismiss this out of hand, then you dead it very quickly. They don't want to. They're happy for it to go on, and they're happy for Napoli to come in for Garnacho. I don't think Garnacho goes in January because I don't think the Napoli will offer anywhere near the amount that we think Garnacho's worth and we feel Garnacho's worth. Now, you can argue to the cows come home about how much you think Garnacho's worth. Well, it doesn't really matter. It's how much, ultimately, it's how much a buying club is willing to pay for a player. How much do they want him? If they want to sign Garnacho, they're going to have to spend the overwhelming majority of the 70 million euros that they just got for Kvaratskhelia. And I don't think that Napoli will do that. So I don't think Garnacho goes anywhere, but the approach has now been made. Talks are now, I wouldn't say talks are underway because United don't really want to talk. This feels kind of like when we tried to sign Sancho from Dortmund. Dortmund were looking at Sancho and said, well, we don't want to lose you right now, but I don't know. Say 120 million? I don't know. If you come in with 120 million, then, well, we can have a conversation. Don't want to sell him right now. We're not actively pursuing it, but if you come to our door and you knock and you say 120 million, all right, cool. We'll let you in. We'll have a conversation. It's exactly where United are with Napoli right now and Garnacho. We are not picking the phone up and ringing Napoli. We're not sending them emails. Ooh, you think about increasing? No, nothing like that at all. Come to us with 70 million, then we'll talk. If not, go away. That's the Garnacho situation. And for that reason, I don't think he leaves in January. And I explained it all in yesterday's video, but we're already lacking in options. And then if you get rid of Garnacho and potentially Rashford, then you're looking at the four options up front being Højlund, Xerxes, Ahmad, and Anthony. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Just having a little moment. I've just remembered that United signed Anthony for 80 odd million. Might have to pour some out. Anyway, Rashford, of course, was left out of the squad. Casemiro's left out of the squad. Nothing really being said on him, but I think Casemiro being left out of the squad is quite telling, isn't it? Eriksen's ahead of him in the pecking order as a sub. Collier's ahead of him in the pecking order. Kokonki, a 16-year-old, is ahead of him in the pecking order in terms of a sub and a player that can actually change a game. I really hope that United find a club for Casemiro. Really, really hope. We've just got a 300 grand a week passenger. Was Casemiro on the bench last night? Am I getting that wrong? One sec. I got that wrong. I've been saying this whole time that he hasn't. Casemiro was on the bench. My bad. How did I miss that? You just can't get the staff these days. Just can't get the staff. Anyway. I hope we find a club for Casemiro. Thank you for correcting me there. But Rashford was not on the bench, and you're now hearing that Dortmund are considering coming back in for Rashford. I don't think that they're going to pay the amount that we need them to pay. When they signed Sancho, I think they might have paid something in the region of 70% of his wages, and I think there might have been a loan fee. I think that's what it was with Sancho, but I can't quite remember. Maybe they're going to be trying the same thing with Rashford, but we'll find out. Anthony, I think that's exactly what is happening right now. You're asking whether Rashford's holding out for Barca. If I was to guess, and it is just pure speculation, by the way, that's what I would guess. I don't think Garnacho's leaving in January. I think Rashford is. Where he goes, I don't quite know. I think he wants Barcelona, but I don't think Barcelona happens. I agree. I've said the whole time that I think we'll end up paying in the region of 150 to 175 grand a week of Rashford's wages for him to play somewhere else, which is just a horrendous situation. But one more little moment here before we go to the map, because it's Friday, all right? So make sure you drop a like on the video. That was magical from Ahmad yesterday. In a stadium which was frustrated, right up there, after a performance that was lacking so much quality, he came up with not one goal, not two goals, but 3 goals in 12 minutes. Now, that's a teammate that you want on your team. All credit to him, man. Fantastic. Now, before we wrap up this week, can we bring up the map? Let me know where you're watching from, the city and the country. We are up to 724 points on the map now. And I still, at some point, I want to make it so that you can access this map and sort of look around it yourself. I haven't quite figured that out yet. But let me know where you're watching from, city and the country. Jeez, I lost my voice there. Moisture was required. Keo, you're watching from Swindon, not Windon. Big up Stumpig. Swindon. Never actually been Swindon. I don't actually think I want to go Swindon. Sorry, Swindon. We've got Richie watching from Wexford in Ireland. Wexford? Oh, that was more than Northern. And we've got Depwork watching from Grenoble in France. Have I been to Grenoble? I don't know. I've been to lots of places in France. That's 3 added onto the map. Let's get one more. We've got Kai watching from Miri in Malaysia. Miri, Malaysia. Boom. 4 of you added onto the map. It is a party today. But look, thank you all for tuning in, ladies and gents, for another fantastic week. Touch wood, everyone. I really hope that the hacking situation has kind of gone behind us. That has very much been on my mind, but it's been a cracking week here. After the Arsenal game, we've built on it. I mean, I don't know what you want to call it. Was last night? No, I suppose last night wasn't really building, was it? It was a heroic individual save from Ahmad. Now we've got Brighton on Sunday. They won their first game since like November. Was it November? I think. Against Ipswich last night. I'll run through my starting 11 tomorrow. Today's going to be an analysis of the game yesterday. Game's coming thick and fast. I'll be here on Monday. Have a cracking weekend. Drink responsibly. I did get the 3-1 prediction spot on. I'll tell you my prediction for the Brighton game in the preview that goes out tomorrow. Take it easy, everybody. Have a fantastic weekend.